If you're trying to compare Fort Walton Beach to Shalimar, Florida, and trying to figure out, well, where do I want to go? Which neighborhood in each of these areas is going to be best? Well, what we're going to do today is take you on a walking vlog style tour, as well as a driving tour of two of the premier neighborhoods, one in Shalimar, one in Fort Walton. The one in Fort Walton will be Kenwood. The one in Shalimar will be Shalimar Pointe. They are both golf club communities, and Shalimar Pointe has some extra amenities that you are definitely going to want to find out about. So let's get after it. Now, Kenwood Golf Course Community of Kenwood, Fort Walton Beach. Let's do it. So we're sitting just off the 11th tee here, the Fort Walton Beach Golf Course, which is, we're kind of looking at as a whole. Here's the golf course. All of Kenwood is surrounding this golf course. So there's two 18-hole courses. And then, of course, you've got these pickleball courts and the tennis courts. And then this is the main road to get into either Eglin Air Force Base or get into town, into Fort Walton a little bit. It's just a couple miles up the road. You've got some restaurants and stuff lining as you go. And that's how you get back in town. So Fort Walton Beach Golf Course, as I mentioned, two 18-hole courses. You've got the clubhouse, which we talked about very briefly earlier. Right now we're sitting off the 11th tee. Well, the 11th hole, really. The tee is over here. This is a par 4. It's the shortest par 4 on the course. This is the Pines course here. It's the easier course. So if you're coming down here, you want something easy, the Pines is where it's at. The Oaks is a little bit shorter fairways, narrower fairways, and a little bit longer to get to it. And then this one's really cool here because on the 12th tee, you can't see it as much. But if you come around here, where you're going to the next one, this whole water feature is a par 3 that you have to shoot right over, which is pretty fun. I lose a ridiculous amount of balls in that lake.
All right, so we're just going to kind of take you guys on a tour through the Kenwood neighborhood.
This is a little bit older, established neighborhood. This is kind of the ritzy area back in the 60s and 70s. You've got houses all from probably about 1955 all the way to more recent. They do occasionally tear something down and put something back up, so you can occasionally get new construction. We actually just passed by one on our way out here to show you this kind of area. But this is a little bit what you can expect for a lot of them. So you're going to see some one-car garages. The bulk of them will be 2-car. You're going to see that 80s and 90s style for the most part. You will see some ranch style. That was kind of like out in the 70s. For those of you curious about price ranges right now, because that's obviously very important if you're considering a neighborhood like this, in the last year or so, you're looking anywhere from about $380,000 to about $460,000. Now, some of them will range higher. In just the last year, there just weren't any that were that high. This neighborhood does have a waterfront section that's right there on the harbor. The bay. So, obviously the prices with that will go up according. The houses will generally range about 1,400 to 2,400 square feet for the most part. There will be outliers on either side of that, as per usual. And the lot sizes are generally about 0.2 of an acre, quarter of an acre, all the way up to just shy of half of an acre. So you can see these two that she's pointing at right now. These are 80s style homes. You can generally expect that about 50% of these will have a split floor plan, while the other ones will have everything bunched together. That was about the time frame that they started splitting up some of the bedrooms. Those of you guys with kids, especially in the elementary age, you have an elementary school right here in the middle of Kenwood. So you've got that option to send your kids there. And then for the middle schoolers, there are a couple of different options, and you've also got a preparatory school here in the area that you do have to get on a wait list for. You have to have a local address. You have to get a wait list. It generally takes 1 to 2 years for most folks. It's kind of I've heard it's a lot better. I don't have kids, but I've heard that Liza Jackson is a pretty good school. That goes all the way to 8th grade. And then, of course, you've got two different high schools here in Fort Walton as well. You've got the Choctawhatchee, I can never say it right. And then, of course, Fort Walton Beach High. Both are rated very high on niche.com and greatschools.org. As you're probably seeing in the video, we've got lots of Lots of sidewalks. It's very walkable, and you are in close proximity to kind of a lot here, actually. So you've got Eglin Air Force Base right up the road. Probably takes about 5 to 7 minutes to get there from here, if that. And of course, you got the Hurlburt Field back gate. You will have to go through town just a little bit for that. That's probably around 8 to 10 minutes away. The hospital, we showed you that on the drive in, so you kind of know where that area is. Pryor Middle School, just talked about that. Then of course the airport from here is actually very close as well. It's probably about 8 to 9 minutes if I had to put my best guess on it. It's actually called Destin Fort Walton Beach Airport.
Just funny.
It's basically in between Fort Walton and Niceville. It's not even anywhere near Destin. So if you are flying in, just keep that in mind. If you are going into Destin, you're going to have a little bit of a trek. Only about 15 minutes, 20 minutes, but it's still going to be there. You can see here on our left side, we've got some of these waterfront homes here. So that's what you're starting to see. Or at least I'm pretty sure now they should be waterfront on the other side of this. Generally, pretty good rule of thumb is you start seeing people with these gates up front. A lot of times they are waterfront, at least in this neighborhood.
And you can always tell when you're starting to see higher end properties by the way that they manicure their yards.
I was curious about different food items. Got Fort Walton Beach is littered with different food items. It's right outside of 2 major military bases. It's very common for military folks to go out to eat for lunch. So I'm assuming that's why there are so many, because it seems to me like there are more restaurants per capita than there probably should be for this size of a town, which is great for us, especially if you like food. We've also got Chick-fil-A right up the road, Thai food, tacos, barbecue. And there's just a ton of stuff around. I got somebody doing some renovations over there. And if you guys stick around for a few, we will drive through the neighborhood as well, so you can get a little bit more. So I know right now we're only showing a few homes because we're on foot. It's taking us a minute, but we'll drive through and give you a better idea of what's going on here.
All right, now we're going to kind of drive around the area for you, just the actual neighborhood, so you can see what it really looks like. This won't take too long. It's not a huge neighborhood, and we're going to give you both a view from the GoPro, which we've attached to the truck, and I'll probably keep holding on to this camera as well, just in case you prefer this view, and in case we decide we want to actually say something to you while we're driving along. Once again, you got the golf course to the right here.
You can kind of see a little bit here on the map too, if you want to zoom in on this and where we're at. So this whole area here is all Kenwood, including over here, right? So, oh shoot, went way too fast. So this is the golf course, and this is the road we're heading on now. And as you can see, if I would have taken that other left, we could have seen all of the waterfront stuff. So it's basically all of this section here.
So you're getting more of an interior view right now than what you were getting whenever we were walking around, because we were walking and it's really hot out. We kind of stuck to kind of the outer perimeter close to the park whenever we were walking around. This is a more quiet part and a more interior side of the actual Kenwood neighborhood.
And everything on the right that you were seeing are actually going to be on the golf course directly. So they'll be able to walk right out and walk their dog at night on the golf course, or, you know, things like that. They're not too crazy about the golf course here, which is kind of cool. And then earlier too, where we were at by Cafe Organic, actually, you can kind of see here on the map, this corner cafe is right next to us. It's not showing Cafe Organic, it's one street over, but that's it. So you can see this road, it's going to come right out to it. Remember that Tom Thumb I pointed out earlier where he said with a B? It's right here on this corner.
And again, we were talking to you guys a little bit while we were walking along. A lot of these houses are going to be built in like the 50s and onward, all the way up to like the 80s and 90s, and then you'll start to see, some from as late as like 2015 and even earlier when you get out into the perimeters. There are only a couple of lots left in this area that haven't already been built on, and no one seems to be ready to sell them. I think they're just waiting to build their forever home on them, but we'll let y'all know if they do hit the market. If you're interested in this area, I'm going to go ahead and throw all of our contact information up on the screen for you. We are licensed agents here on the Emerald Coast, so you can reach us by call, text, email, Facebook message. We've been getting lots of calls and a lot of emails actually from you guys here recently, and we absolutely love hearing from you and helping you to know about the area, purchase in the area, sell in the area. So please don't hesitate to reach out to us. And if you haven't done so already, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button and then click the like button as well so that you get notified every time we do another video.
You can see we just saw somebody walking at 2 in the afternoon here in the neighborhood. That's the kind of neighborhood this is. If you come out here 5 to 7 p.m., you'll see a lot more people riding their bikes, people walking, jogging, in the mornings as well, obviously. People trying to get into morning exercise. So everything on our right side now, you'll see a couple of neighborhoods like Twin Bay Drive we just drove by, but all of these are going to be waterfront areas. So each one of these little turnoffs that you're seeing on the right is a waterfront neighborhood. Now, not all of the homes are going to be waterfront, obviously, as you're seeing. But when you get to the end of the streets, you will see that they are right there on the little bay.
I would like to say a quick thank you to all of our subscribers, returning viewers. We really appreciate y'all watching our content and helping us to help other people.
No kidding. We do appreciate it. So this is the outskirts, these roads that I'm taking, so we're not going in and out of the individual streets. But it still gives you a pretty good idea of the type of neighborhood that it is. So if you are looking for an older, more established neighborhood, this is one of the best ones in my opinion. It is very well sought after. It is not my style personally, but that's all right. That's, my style isn't for everybody, right? So here on the right, now you're seeing all these waterfront homes. You can actually start seeing the water off in the distance a little bit behind the houses. This is a little, I can't think of the dang name of the little type of water. So it's not technically the bay anymore. What are these called?
Canals.
Thank you. A little canal. Could not think of the dang word. So everything that you're seeing on the right is in a canal. So the water is going to be a lot more calm. So if you're looking for something to put a boat into, but you don't want your boat or your jet skis or whatever it is sloshing around with other people flying by, these canals are always really good for that. And then of course you've got quick access to all of the water fun that you could possibly imagine. Here on the left here, real quick, or actually you can see it here on the right. See these brand new properties. This is Acre home that was just there on the right. So they are still doing new construction. You can see another one over here on the left. That's a 4-year-old home here. That one's an older one, but we were just here. So now you guys are kind of gathering your bearings a little bit on where we are. We just walked this area. This is where we stopped the camera to turn around. So it should seem fairly familiar. And then as we're driving here, as you go straight, you'll see a stoplight way off in the distance. We'll probably get to it a little later that you can see. That is the main road that you're going to take in and out to get really anywhere you want. If you go right, you're going to go straight to Eglin Air Force Base and the airport and into Niceville. You can also get into Destin that direction, although most people going into Destin would go left here so that they could save on the toll. Because if you do go right and go into Niceville to get into Destin, you will be hitting a toll bridge. All right, so we are heading into Shalimar Pointe.
Got some food truck action. I will say that is one thing that we have a lot of in this area is food trucks, and they're so much fun when you want like really good food without like a ton of cost or a ton of like feeling like you need to be dressed a certain way or anything like that. It's just super chill. It's really good food and usually pretty like decently priced.
And then up here on the left is Timberlake. So you're going to hear me talk about in a little bit when we get to Shalimar Pointe about some of the outdoor activities that are nearby. That's Timberlake. That's the main area that I'm going to be discussing because it is just a few short minutes away from Shalimar Pointe. You can do hiking, biking, mountain biking, geocaching, camping, trail riding, all sorts of stuff down there. Now make sure that you need to go into Niceville to the Jackson Guard and get a pass. I don't remember how much they are right now. They used to be $2 prior to COVID for the whole year. I believe they are a little bit more expensive right now, but don't quote me on that. They're probably not going to be any more than about $10. You do have to take a small test. Don't worry, they make it very easy. The test is basically asking you questions like, if you come across an explosive, what do you do? Don't touch it. That's the answer. Keep in mind that Eglin Air Force Base is the country's largest bomb testing center. So bombs, missiles, rockets, anything that explodes, they like to test out here. It is borderline impossible, or very unlikely, improbable, that you will find what they call a UXO, an unexploded ordnance, out here while you're roaming around, but you might. So that's why they make you take that test, just in case. Don't play with explosives, kids, unless it's from the fireworks stand. So here on the right side, if you were to come into here, that would be the start of Paquito Bayou. That is one of 3 entrances to Paquito. Probably the least used entrance out of all of them. I'll show you the other one that we are going to pass by here in a bit. Paquito Bayou is another one of the premier neighborhoods in Shalimar. In fact, it is the other one that most people relate to whenever they're looking for kind of a planned neighborhood in the Shalimar area. It is very similar to Kenwood, which we've done another video on. We will throw that up in the cards at the top right. If you want to check that out, you definitely can.
This is Eglin, or 85, that we're turning onto now. And once we make this right, on the left, you're going to see the Armament Museum, which is really cool. You can take a tour inside or just stay outside and take a look at all the retired aircrafts.
In fact, if you look at the 7 things to do in Fort Walton Beach, this is one of them. You'll see me in front of many of these aircrafts. I actually used to fly on a variant of that one right there that you're seeing back when I was active duty a long time ago. But super cool. That's the SR-71, my favorite airplane. I'm kind of a nerd about it. It should have been the RS-71, but the president screwed it up in his speech, and they didn't want to make him look bad, so they changed the name of the aircraft. So there on the right, we just passed it. I was rambling, sorry about that, but this is the rest of Paquito Bayou. So obviously it's all surrounded by trees. Paquito is very private. It's not closed off. There's not, it's not a gated community or anything like that, but it is kind of like a nice little quiet area. In fact, I drove by here every day when I was working at Eglin Air Force Base and never knew it was here until I became a realtor. About a year into becoming a realtor, I showed my first property back there, and I was like, I didn't even know this is back here. This is amazing. So kind of cool. This is the entrance into Shalimar right now that we're kind of going into. You'll see as we crest over this hill, you'll see the elementary school here on the left side. In fact, we're about to have to slow down for that because they are letting out right now. So you can kind of see some of that. We are going to slow down. Don't want to hit any kids, although there's never any kids out here, but we got to be safe. I'm actually going to take you all the way through. If we wanted to, we could take this left and we would get into Shalimar Pointe. Actually, let's do that because then we could do the driving tour while we're at it. We're going to see Shalimar Pointe Golf Club. We're going to see the houses. We're going to see the tennis club. We're going to see the water. We're going to see lots of things.
Nice.
And my car is going to be...
Oh. Not to worry. Just a little old phone battery. Fixed. I'm not going to be able to keep you guys on the map because whenever I record the map, it kind of shows every time the map flickers, and it's kind of frequently. It's not really perceptible to the human eye whenever we're looking at it straight, but from another screen it is, and I don't want anybody to have a seizure.
So this is the gate here going into it. You've got the tennis club on your right side. We are going to start heading that way at first. This is an unmanned gate. Keep that in mind. After hours, though, it does close up and you do need access. So everybody, all the residents have access.
We've got some water view already straight up ahead.
Yeah, in fact, on the right side, which we're not going to go to because there is no outlet there, you'll have everything on the left is the bay. And then on the right side is actually Lake Lorraine Lake, which is a lake that actually goes into the harbor, which is or the bay, which is pretty cool. So if you're looking for a home that has great access to all of this, but also a little protection with some extra houses and land between you, then up here on the right side is the better way to go. Now, there's only about 20 houses down there, but if you're lucky enough to find one, it does give you some extra protection from hurricanes and stuff. Then everything here on the left side, you're still going to be protected because you still got Destin, you still have the island. All of that stuff is going to take a big brunt of most of it. It's not going to be as protected as those guys, right? So right here behind us, which you're not going to be able to grab, I know, but that's the tennis club. So several different leagues play here. There's 3 that I know of. I'm confident there are probably more. But all from about Santa Rosa Beach all the way to about Pensacola or Gulf Breeze will come here to play on at least one of those tennis clubs. And then the really cool part is up here at the golf course. We are going to get out and we'll show you some of this stuff as well. The golf course is currently closed. I do not know what the condition of it looks like right now. It is closed for remodeling, and should be back up June of 2023, so next month. Supposedly doing a whole bunch to this, but as I'm looking around, it doesn't look like it is fully done or close to it, because I still see a lot of different sand areas and stuff. This is the clubhouse here and the golf shop on the right side. They were renovated not too long ago, a couple of years, I believe. You've got the chipping green that you're seeing that Miss AJ is showing right now, and the putting green as well. And then right here, you've got the driving range. The driving range does give you some pretty good distance between you and the houses, but if you do wail on the golf balls, you can actually get pretty close to those houses, which is always fun. And then the first tee box is up here. Should be creeping into view right about now. This is an 18-hole golf course. It was picked up by Edwin Watts, 4 or 5 years ago. And then I believe he flipped it fairly quickly is what I'm understanding. Although I'm not in tune enough with the history to fully know that. But pretty cool little neighborhood here. I'm going to go with this. I'm going to go up here just because we get some good shots of the water. We're currently around 6 or 7 lots out here that are not picked up. As you can see here, this private property here on our right side is actually owned by one of the neighbors. There's 2 different lots here. And there's no outlet, so we're not going to go down here, but that's all waterfront over here. There's approximately 60 homes that are waterfront that you could pick up if that is something that you're looking to do. And then you've got the 18th hole there on the right that AJ is currently pointing the camera at. So that is where you would end. You'd cross the street and you'd be done for the day. What's really cool about this is if you look at this sign right here where it says fairways, that we're passing right there, there's a bunch of little tiny neighborhoods like that scattered all throughout here. And they're not really neighborhoods, they're just like little subsections off. So you're like, oh, I live over there on the fairways. I live over there on, whatever the other names are, right? Which is kind of cool. To turn around either one of these streets here. You can expect the prices in this area to be about $400,000 to about $2.5 million at its highest. And of course, anything above about $800,000 is probably because it is on the water. Everything else should be a little bit less of a price tag. And it kind of weaves in and out, just like we're seeing right here, where there's, a small little street with 5 or 10 homes here, another little one over here with 5 or 10 homes. That's kind of how the entire neighborhood is split up. And of course, if you do live here, you have a golf cart, you can take that in and out, use that as your primary means of getting in and out of the neighborhood if you wanted to, or mainly staying within the neighborhood. I shouldn't say in and out because you really shouldn't be driving it outside of the neighborhood unless it is street legal, of course. But as you can see, these gentlemen in front of us that are clearly golfing, taking a little break. You can always stop by at your house, grab a delicious soda pop or a brewski or something like that, and then head right back out to the golf course. You'll see a lot of times there's one gentleman, I don't know if he lives here anymore, because it's been a while since I've been out golfing here, but when I used to golf all the time, I'd come out here and there was a guy that would come out with his 7, his driver, and his putter. And that's all he would come out with, just those 3 clubs, out at night, practice on 2 or 3 of the holes, and then leave. Now, I know you're supposed to pay for it when you golf. I'm confident he was not. But kind of a nice little perk of being on a golf course in general. And, of course, at night, once twilight hits and everybody's gone, you can walk the golf course, you take your dog out, what have you. Just make sure you pick up after your dog if you're going to do that. We appreciate it. This is a fun fact, actually. For anybody that's been watching our channel for a while, you've probably heard me say all the time, or if you've commented or something, hey, what about the crocodiles? What about crocodiles, alligators, whatever, right? The only time I've ever seen a croc in Florida outside of at Fudpuckers, which is a restaurant that has them all over. It's part of the tourist trap, the ploy, right? They even walk around with these little miniature alligators so that you can pet them with their mouths closed shut, so they're not going to bite you. But anyway, the only other time that I've seen a gator in public was out here. I keep saying crocodile, but you know what I mean. They're kind of the same almost. This is the links area here. In fact, we should cross the little lake that I see. There's a little mini gator. Maybe we'll see him if we get lucky. He's not a very big one, or at least he wasn't the last time I was here. But he would be up here on the right. In a ways, you're not going to see it quite yet.
Please don't feed the alligators or crocodiles, whichever one that you see. Please don't feed them. We don't need like a Lake Placid situation over here.
So this is one of the areas that he'll hang out in, although he stopped doing that several years ago. I think it's because it's more trafficked. So you're in a true golf course community when the main road is called the Masters.
Give you guys some front-facing views of some of these beautiful houses. I've shown a couple of these properties, and I will say they have some very interesting floor plans.
Yeah, some of them are very interesting. Now, if you've never lived in a golf course community, please remember, if you're on the golf course directly, depending on where you're at, you may get hit with golf balls all the time. Especially if you're on, kind of in the middle of a par 4 or par 5. It is very common for people to smack golf balls up against your house. Don't be mad. It's just part of it. Now, if they break a window, well, then you can be upset. So now we've gone through Shalimar Pointe. Let's talk about the proximity to some of the things that might be important to you if you are thinking about moving your family down here. So one of the most important things is schools to a lot of people. So we've got the 3 main schools that you need: elementary, middle, and high. 2 of those are 7 minutes away. So you've got Shalimar Elementary, which is right down the road. Right as soon as you come out, you'll head all the way down. You'll go right, you'll run right into it. And then you've got Meg's Middle School. You are going to have to do one extra turn to go down to Meg's Middle School. Both are very highly rated schools. Meg's is, it was top 5 for something. Top 5 in academic or something like that in the county. And the county is number 3 in the state out of all of the counties. 6 of 7 counties. Okaloosa County is ranked number 3. This is according to either niche.com or, what was the other site? I'm pretty sure it was niche.com, right? Then we've got Choctawhatchee High School, which we passed by a little bit earlier. That's all the way out in Fort Walton. That is going to take about 10 to 11 minutes to get to. It is a fairly straight shot, which is good. That makes it a little bit easier there. And then, of course, if you are flying in and out, having an airport nearby is very important. That is one of the great advantages of this neighborhood. It's one of the few master plan neighborhoods in our area that is within 10 minutes of the airport. It's actually about 10 to 11, depending on traffic, but you shouldn't have too much traffic going out there. That's pretty rare. And then you've got Highway 98, which will get you to drive into Destin, get you to go to Pensacola, to Panama City Beach. That's the main road that runs along our coastline, not directly, but just off of the coastline. And that's about 14 minutes away. And then, of course, for those of you guys looking to go into Destin, maybe go out for drinks, go out for the night, go shopping, just do any of the tourist style things that are out in Destin. That is approximately 20 to 25 minutes away, depending on traffic. If there's no traffic, you can get there in 20, of course. If there's more, it could actually take more than 25, just depending on what's going on. But that's, not all the time. It's generally during the peak seasons. For those of you guys that are watching us for the very first time, we thank you for finding us. If you find this valuable at all, make sure you hit that like button and, of course, subscribe and ding that little bell if you're a returning subscriber. We do appreciate you guys coming back. That's always awesome. We are Realtors First, so if you're curious about Shalimar Pointe or really any neighborhood in the Florida Panhandle, you can reach out to us. We're going to throw up all of our information right here on the screen. You can follow us on social. You can send us a message, a DM. You can text, email. There's a Calendly link inside of the remarks section there, so it makes it real easy for you guys if you want to book an appointment to talk to us. It's no skin off our back. We really do appreciate talking to you guys. Even if you're not sure if you're coming down here, don't hesitate to reach out and we will get you situated in the best way that we can. So now, talking about pricing, I know I touched on it a little bit earlier, but the pricing here in the Shalimar Pointe area is going to be anywhere from about $400,000 on the low end all the way up to about $2.5 million on the high end. There could be something that pops up even higher than that if one of these larger homes that are on the water come up on the market, or any of them like kind of down at the end near the Lake Lorraine lake, because they've just got a lot more waterfront and they're a little bit bigger lots. But those are just kind of the general pricing that you're going to see. Most of them are going to hover in the 400 to 600K price range. Now, of course, the bigger home you get, the more it's going to be. Most of these homes are going to range around 2,200 to 2,600 square feet. There will be some smaller, there will be some bigger, of course, but that's the big bulk of it. And then as far as the ages of most of these homes, almost all of them are from 1988 to about 2000. Because there are some lots that are still undeveloped, you will see some that are newer than that. You won't see any that are older than that. They've all been demolished to create what we've got here. But you might see something a little bit newer there. As you saw whenever we first came in, that house that was on the left right when we come through the gate was just being built. There are several of those, and there are some lots available. So if that is something that you're interested in, we could always reach out to those owners and see if they are willing to sell. Now, as for the things to do nearby, Shalimar is a little bit smaller of a town, but you've got Fort Walton right next door. So you've got everything from Fort Walton that we're always talking about. I mean, there's so much stuff to do there that we haven't hit it all in these videos, right? But here in Shalimar alone, if you're looking for restaurants, we've got lots of great restaurants around here. 3 of note are the Aegean restaurant. This is Greek food. Really, 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 really good tzatziki there.
So good.
It's so good. Then we've got the Twisted Grape, which is a fun kind of wine and charcuterie board place, although it's not just charcutes, okay? They also have sandwiches and a bunch of other good little sandwich lunch style food there, salads, things like that. Really cool little place. They'll really help you out with the wine selection and stuff like that, if that's what you're looking for. Now, for your beer drinkers, there is a place. It's actually one of my favorite little hole-in-the-walls, hideout little places here in all of Fort Walton, actually. It's one of my favorite places. It's called Shalimar Cheers. It's been out here, as long as I can remember. I think it's been here since the 80s. It's kind of tucked away a little bit. Where we had just turned on when we turned left into town, it would have been there on the right. We were kind of chatting when I was sitting at that stoplight. But if you would have gone right there, that's Shalimar Cheers. They've got I want to say it's 85 or 90 beers right there on tap. Super friendly. The food is great. Their wings in particular are really good. Their burgers are out of this world. They're absolutely insane. It's one of my favorite burgers in town. So those are 3 great restaurants right there. Now, if you're looking for something healthy to eat, Clean Eats is right here in town as well. Lots of different kind of clean options there for you. Some that are low fat, some that are just tons of veggies and some meat. So some great options. Now, for those of you that are going to want to get out on the water, but you don't have a waterfront home, that's fine. There are 2 main boat launches that are really close to you. There's all sorts all across Fort Walton Beach, but there's 2 main ones that you might want to go to. One of them is up the road at Paquito Bayou. I kind of vaguely mentioned that when we were coming in, that wooded area. There's a boat launch there that is public for everybody. And then you've got the Meg's Park just to the south of us as well. That is probably one of your better options. It is very wide. It is very easy to get in and out of, to take a boat in and out, or if you're just throwing a stand-up paddleboard or something, there's tons of room out there. So those are your best 2 options for that.
If you guys are still with us, then you must have found some kind of benefit to our video. So please hit that like button so we can help others as well. And we will see y'all at the next one.
See you guys.